Morning. Welcome to another episode of the DunnWisdom Morning Show. I am your host, Melissa P. Dunn. I'm CEO of MD Marketing Network and the founder of this DunnWisdom movement. Now, you know, I love to introduce you to change makers and entrepreneurs who are getting things done, particularly those who are using their skills to change the world. Today's entrepreneur is absolutely doing that. She is an author, an inspirational speaker, an educator, and an e-learning specialist. She started a e-learning and online test preparation in the Caribbean in 2005. And let me tell you, she is making a huge impact. Now, as an entrepreneur, she bootstrapped it all the way. And today she's going to share her entrepreneurial journey with us. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm DunnWisdom Morning Show welcome to Dr. Shalette Ashman. Good morning, Dr. Ashman.
Good morning, Melissa, and thanks so much for having me. Good morning, viewers.
Oh, fantastic. Now I can take off my glasses now that I'm done reading that. It's like the older you get, the worse your eyesight get. So, that's Dr. Right. Ashman, you are a pioneer in the e-learning space in the Caribbean.
That is true. In 2005, I went for a job here in South Florida after finishing my MBA. And this story is so funny. I am sitting in the interview and being interviewed by these guys. And they were telling me, you know, how they started their own business and how they incorporated e-learning. And I'm in the interview and I'm thinking, oh my God, I started an e-learning website in 2004. And if these guys can do what they say they can do, I should partner with them. So basically, I stopped the interview and I said, guys, listen up. I do not want this job again. What I want to do, I want to hire you. I want to work with you to bring e-learning to the Caribbean. So I went for a job and I ended up partnering with the guys who were interviewing me. That's how I started a website called gogsat.com in Jamaica.
Listen, that is so amazing. That's so bold.
I know, right?
Can you imagine going for a job interview, having the foresight to really listen intentionally, identify the opportunity and saying, listen, I don't want a job, I want a partnership?
Yes, that's what I did.
How did they react?
Well, I think they thought I was crazy. Maybe I am, but I think they thought I was crazy. But after outlining my vision, the lead guy actually contacted me and said, Shalette, do you really believe what you're saying? And I said, yes, I do. And, you know, that's the start of a beautiful partnership. We've been partners since 2005. So going, 16 years? Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. And what tell us a little bit about the product that you developed.
All right. So initially we started a website to prepare students for the GSAT. Back then we had an exam in Jamaica called the GSAT. It's similar to what was the FCAT here in Florida. So it's an exam that prepares students to graduate from primary school and enter high school. That's the GSAT. So we developed a product for the GSAT, and within a couple of months, I thought, hey, if we are preparing students online for the GSAT, then, you know, why not prepare them for their school leaving exam? That is the exam that they take from high school into college. In the Caribbean, that's the CSEC and CAPE. So we started with GSAT, and then we morphed into preparing students for their secondary level exams.
So basically, you were ahead of the curve. You were doing virtual learning before virtual learning became popular.
That is correct. Yes. And the thing about starting an e-learning business, what I did, I went right into the doctoral program, and that's what I studied. So while I was doing my business, I was actually pursuing my PhD in computing technology in education. So I actually studied and implemented a lot of the things that I was learning in the doctoral program in the business. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that sounds good. So could you help us to understand the kind of results that you've been able to achieve for kids in the islands?
Yes. Okay. That's the great question. starting this online business, it was a little bit tricky because as a pioneer, you're trying to convince people that, listen, you can use technology to influence learning, and they're pushing back. Also, at the time, the internet penetration in Jamaica was about 10 or 15%. So, it was not easy getting off the ground. But the first year that we started, I had the top student, that's the student who scored the highest grades in Jamaica, preparing on the website. So that was pretty good. We had 5 scholarship winners the very first year. And to date, we have had over 400 students earning scholarships who use the website. So we have had the top students, we have had government scholarship winners, we have had a number of top performing students using our product. In 2008, we won a national award for technology in education. We also won that award in 2010.
Oh, fantastic. So the equivalent, I guess, to put it in perspective for folks who are stateside, is like a SAT prep course or something of that nature, but it's exactly. All virtual.
Yes, definitely.
Fantastic. So what lessons did you learn about yourself in that startup phase?
All right, so this is what I really want to talk about. What I learned is that when you have a dream, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in yourself so much that it doesn't matter the no's that you get. It doesn't matter what others say. You wake up every day and you hustle. You pursue your dream. I tell this story all the time. Every year when I started my business, I would call the list of principals. I'd call them every September to introduce them to my product. And I remember there was a particular school in Kingston that I called 2006, and I spoke to the principal, and she told me she was not interested in the product. I didn't call her back until 2007 September. I called her back. She told me the same thing. I'm not interested in your product. In 2008, I still had her on my list, because whenever I hear no, I do not hear no. I hear not now. And that is something that entrepreneurs need to learn. They're not telling you no. They're not rejecting you. They're just saying no to the opportunity, sometimes because they haven't seen it. And let me tell you this. In 2008, I called her and I introduced her to the product. And she said to me, Shalette, I was just about to call you. So in 2006, it was a no. In 2007, it was a no. In 2008, she said yes. So, I mean, the resilience, I believe in my product. You're not saying no to me. Those are some things that entrepreneurs need to learn and to bear in mind when they're doing their business.
Oh, wow. What did it feel like when she finally said yes?
I just smiled. And, it's so funny. I smiled, and I think it was about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I was a guest speaker at a conference, and she was there, and I told the story, and she came up afterwards to me and said, I know you're talking about me.
Oh,
that was just so funny. Yeah.
I love it. So it sounds like you had to be super focused and resilient and determination. I'm not even paying attention. Natasha is pushing stuff up on the screen and I am not paying attention. I got to find the right glasses. All right. So Colleen Gusmore says determination. Natasha, do you want to put the others back up so I can say hello to folks? Good morning, Jay. Thank you so much for watching. Good morning. All right. Good morning, Mrs. Lopez. That's Mummy Shalette. That's my mom.
Hi, Mrs. Lopez.
Hi, Teresa. Thank you so much. Good morning. Thanks for watching. Colleen says, 2 powerful women getting it done. Yes. Good morning, Portia. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right. So I know those of you who are entrepreneurs and you're watching, particularly if you're interested in the tech space, do type your questions. Shalette is a serial entrepreneur. She has a track record of coming up with products from conception and really delivering results. So now is the time to ask your questions if you are an entrepreneur, and she will be happy to answer. So Shalette, you had this success in your first 2 or 3 years. How did you go about accessing capital? I know that's a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs.
I never accessed capital. I made
Wait,
a lot of money.
no, wait, hold
Never.
on, back up. You had no investor.
I've never borrowed a cent in the 16 years that I'm doing business, honestly.
Wow.
Never. And I'm going to share how I did it because I'm not afraid to speak. The first thing I want to say is that I work very hard. Some people, I know people love to talk about working smart and doing this and doing. I work very hard. And I really do believe in what it is that I'm doing. Now, I look for opportunities, right? And when I say I look for opportunities, if things are not going great in Jamaica, I will look to another island. I look elsewhere. And I have done some crazy things, but they work. For example, one year I decided that I was going to introduce the product to another Caribbean island. I won't call the name, that use US dollars, right? And I jumped on a flight from the US to that island. And let me tell you something. Within a week, I met with the Prime Minister. I met with all the teachers in the island, and I left with a check for 40,000 US dollars. I mean, all the students were using the product. I did the same thing. I remember one day I got up and I said, you know what? I'm going to introduce my product into the Bahamas. And I just jumped on a flight and I went to the Bahamas. At the time, Spirit had $9 ticket. And, I just went to the Bahamas, didn't know anybody, just booked a motel at $50 a night. Maybe I had about $250. In those days, I used to walk with my food. So I had my bread, I had my sardine, I had my whatever it is that I wanted to eat for the time that I was going to be there. I just brought it along in my carry-on. And let me tell you this, how wonderful it is to take those kinds of moves. So I went to the Bahamas. And I started handing out my flyers. I just started walking up and down and handing out my flyers. And I was just talking. I had my elevator pitch. So within a minute, I can tell you exactly what it is that I'm doing. You have to have your elevator pitch, because sometimes persons are not going to give you more than 30 seconds. And I was at the stoplight. I just remember this. And I was handing out my flyers. And I was just telling people about the website and how it could help their children prepare for the GLAT. Because in Bahamas, they have an exam called the GLAT. I think it's grade level assessment test. And I remember this gentleman coming up to me and saying, do you know who I am? I'd just given him the pitch and gave him the flyer. And I said, no, I don't know who you are. And he said, like he would say, I'm the president of the teachers union, something to that effect. And I was like, oh, wow. And he said, tomorrow we're going to have a conference and we want you to come and speak. I mean, that's the power of, I call God the world boss, because look, I
was. Yes.
Yeah. I took the leap and I went, and look what happened. God just sent this man who was the president of the teachers union right in my path. And I was able to stand before so many teachers the next day presenting the product. So those are the kind of things I did. I've been to almost every single English speaking island in the Caribbean, just doing that, just pitching my product, meeting with government, just doing my thing. I've never borrowed. If I had $500 and I wanted to introduce my product to a country, I just took a plane, book a motel for $50 a night, and just did my thing.
So here's what I want to kind of dissect a little bit. Let's see. She says, amen. How awesome. Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. That's what I'm saying as well. So here, I kind of want to pause a little bit and look at this. So what I'm hearing you say is that you are so connected with God and with yourself that when you got the inspiration, you were able to hear and act immediately.
Definitely, yes.
So you basically jump on faith.
Yes, a lot of faith. In my business, it's a lot of faith, and a lot of belief in knowing that I'm being guided in the right direction. So yeah, I do believe in God.
Were you afraid? Good morning, Miss Joy. You were not afraid ever.
Never. I've never been afraid in my life. I grew up in Jamaica in the inner city, in an inner city community called Grandspan. And I write about it in my book, Limitless. Right. And I talk about
Mhm.
growing up in the inner city. I knew the bad men, I knew the prostitutes, I knew good people. I used to sell in the markets, so I didn't have an easy life. So, I was hustling from a child, so I was never afraid. I was not a sheltered child. So, as an adult, when you mix the street smart with your education, I mean, you're unstoppable. I believe that.
Mm, I love that. I love that. So you've basically been bootstrapping your way, jumping out on faith. Thank you for that, Miss Joy. Jumping out on faith and getting things done. What would you say was the number one obstacle you faced in the early days?
The
And how
number
did you
one,
overcome it?
the number one obstacle. Honestly, I don't even think. I think the biggest thing for me was to be honest, I didn't have an obstacle because the things that came at me, I just laughed in their faces. Um, one of the things I remember though is when I finished my MBA and I went back to Jamaica, doing Go GSAT, and things weren't happening as I thought, and friends and family were telling me, "Why don't you get a job?" That used to annoy me because it's like they couldn't see the vision, and they kept saying, "Get a job, get a job." I remember the word got to my mom, and she came to me in her own way and was saying, Shalette, why don't you try and see if you could get a job, that was very annoying, and I remember explaining to her, what my vision was and how I was, determined to pursue my objectives. But honestly, Melissa, I look at nothing as determinants because, like I say, I think my early life prepared me for my entrepreneurial journey. Honestly, I mean, selling in the markets wasn't easy. Dealing with, I remember going to high school and I used to sell at dances. So, in Jamaica, they have these street dance at night, and I used to sell cane. So, that made me a little bit tough. So the obstacles that somebody would face in business and consider them obstacles, I laugh at that.
Okay. See, that's so interesting. What comes to mind for me in this conversation, wait, go bring that question back up. She says, looking to publish the books that I have written. This gives her hope. Oh, yeah. Okay, so stick a pin in that question. We'll find out some tips from you about getting her book published. Thanks for that question, Jay. Stick a pin. Let me ask this question first. So what's coming to mind when you talk about your childhood and the challenges you faced and how they've prepared you for the entrepreneurial journey? What comes to mind is the word perspective, right? It's either the glass is half full or the glass is half empty. And I think a lot of times people who went through some of the things that you went through as a child really focus on the trauma of it rather than the lessons of it. How did you make that transition for yourself?
I think one of the things that I really believe in is that I'm not a victim. No matter what happens to me, I really believe that I'm not a victim. So I don't have that victim mentality. I believe that things happen and you need to learn from them and grow. And sometimes we do get some sad things happening to us. Like I talk about being raped in my book, right? And that was traumatic. But I still am not a victim. I'm a survivor. You know what I mean? So I think that mindset is really propels me to move forward, to always look at the glass as being half full instead of half empty. And also, I believe that the universe is conspiring to make us successful. So I don't believe that, people are out there not wanting to see me succeed, or God doesn't want me to be successful. I believe that everything is working together for my good. I honestly believe that. And I honestly believe that if we put the work in and we believe in what we're doing, that we will do well. You know, sometimes we walk away from our entrepreneurial journey because we're looking for the success now. And sometimes the reaping time is not now, because I believe that life is like farming. You sow, you nurture, and then you reap. You know, so sometimes somebody goes into business and they're sowing and they want to reap tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. You know, you have to start your business, you have to nurture it, and then you have to wait, and then you reap. And unfortunately, sometimes the storm comes and blow down the entire crop and you have to start over. But that's the nature of the journey.
That's the nature of entrepreneurship, for sure. I keep hearing you talk about the word belief. Mark is saying, big up, doctor. I hear you talk about the word belief. It sounds to me like your core beliefs is really what propels you forward. Is that a correct assertion?
Yes, I do believe in what it is that I'm doing, honestly. So if I get up today and say I'm writing a book, I'm going to write a book. And, you know, if I say I'm writing a book and I'm writing 5 pages per day, I am writing 5 pages per day. I'm just doing it. Yeah.
So you make a practice of keeping your words to yourself.
Definitely. So I'll do 10 pages, I'll do 6 pages, but I'm not going to get up and do nothing. And it doesn't matter what I do that day. I'm going to come back to what it is that I said I would do, and I get it done. And I believe in what I am doing. And I think one of the things I want persons to take away from this conversation is that in order to be really successful, you have to look for problems. Once you can solve a problem, then you are going to do well. For example, I'm going to give you a great example. In 2000 and I think it was about 2018, the government of Jamaica decided that they were going to change from the GSAT, which was our grade 6 exam, to an exam called PEP. Now, prior to the change, I sat down and I started writing books in anticipation for the change. And let me tell you this. When the change came, I think I had one of the first books on the market in maybe about a month. When I started selling this book, this particular book, it was for that new exam. I think I pulled on maybe about $100,000 in the first month, because I anticipated the change. I knew there was going to be a need, and I just got to working. So I'm working on these books for maybe a year and a half. Nothing is happening. Seems as if I'm wasting time, but I'm anticipating. I see what is coming and I'm working towards it. So, you know, you have to see problems and then you have to come up with solutions. That's how you're going to really do well as an entrepreneur. See the problem and try to fix it.
I love it. I love it. Could you give Jay some believe in what you're doing? That's for sure, Miss Joy. Could you said Dr. Ashman is amazing. You're inspired. Listen, you're inspiring people all over the place. Portia says, I need those tips. Also, she has some poems that she wants to write. Okay, so let's get back to how to get a book published. What advice do you have for our 2 budding authors that are watching?
All right, so my take on writing is that you have to be consistent. You have to set deadlines. You have to set your goals, set your deadlines, and just start writing. You know, get a great editor and just publish your book. There's nothing more to it than that. You know, I think the biggest thing is to be consistent with your writing. So if you're going to write a book and it's going to be 200 pages, then you set a date, you know, so you say, okay, I'm going to be finished by June. Then you need to work out how many pages per day you need to write so that you can meet your deadline, and you just get on it. That's it. And you publish your book. And of course, after publishing your book, you market your book. So, I mean, there's nothing more to it than that. Some people make it seem as if there's more to it, but there isn't. That's just it. You just start working and get it done.
Write it, get it edited, get it published, and sell it.
That's it.
All right, I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes for myself. All right, so we have another question. She says, "My business is expanding to provide coaching services to educators. What insight could you provide to begin a tech web presence and platform?"
Okay, coaching service to educators. All right. So first of all, if you're providing coaching to educators and it's you clearly know what it is that you're doing, then you need to reach out to those educators. What a great way that I find in building my business is sometimes to offer a free service and then morph into something that is paid. Right. So let us say that you're offering coaching to educators. You could do your first event or your first coaching workshop for free, and let person see how great you are. And then I find that if you're really good and you're offering something that is valuable, then you will get some business from that. So I find that that works for me. People always say, persons don't value what is free, but it depends on how you do it. So if you want to start out and you want to have 100 persons attending your workshop, that's a great way to test the waters.
Good advice. Good advice. I would even add that it's important for you to understand the need of the educators, right? Shalette, what do you think about that? Because I heard you say before, it's important to figure out a problem to come up with a solution.
Definitely. I'm putting on a workshop on Sunday, a virtual workshop for teachers in Jamaica. And the first thing I did was to reach out to a couple of teachers to say, okay, I want to do a workshop. What is it that you need? So yeah, that's very important because it's not what I think the teachers want. It's the teachers are going to respond if I'm solving their need. So yes, that is important. Make sure that you're solving a need.
Fantastic. What about the publishing process?
All right. Now, in regards to publishing, what I love to do when persons ask me about publishing is refer them to my friend. I have a great friend and mentor, Joan Wright Good. She was the one who basically guided me in terms of publishing. So she's on Facebook. If persons want to get some insight in how to publish their books, just touch base with Joan. She's Dr. Joan Wright Good. Or you can WhatsApp me afterwards and I can give you some insight into getting your book published. My WhatsApp is, can I give my WhatsApp, Melissa?
Absolutely.
So it's 954-687-3375. You can send me a WhatsApp message. I can either give you contact information for Joan or I'll give you some insights in how to get your book published.
Okay, great. So what's next? I heard you talk about a lot of different projects. What's the next big thing for you and your company?
All right. So I'm into developing online material for WhatsApp. That's a big thing for me because with the pandemic, I realized that there are a number of students in the Caribbean without who are using WhatsApp as a learning tool. So I'm doing some development where WhatsApp is concerned. I'm also doing a lot of downloadable apps where persons can actually download my apps and use them offline. So, they don't have to have an internet connection to use those products. I am developing a comic series. This is my life story in comic. I love this. It's Limitless. It's actually the accompanying comic for my author biography, so I'm into comic development, and of course every day I write textbooks and workbooks. So that's an area that I'm into. I also have a nice Jamaican comic series with Jamaica superheroes and that kind of a thing. So I'm really into a lot of comic publishing, a lot of workbook publishing. And of course, my core business, which is learninghub.online. That is my website that students use to prep for their pre-high school and post-high school exams. That's learninghub.online.
Love it, love it, love it. Do you have, okay, Jay says her book is complete. Any editors in mind? It sounds like Jane Good is a good place for her to start, yes?
Yeah, Dr. Joan Wright Good. Yes, good place to start and good people. If you WhatsApp me afterwards, Jay, I'll also put you in contact with an editor. Yeah. But you really need a good editor because they catch the things that we miss.
Give your number one more time.
It's 954-687-3375. And my editor has been with me. You know, something that I want to point out, when you're in business, always make sure that you have great people with you. So my editor, Diane West from Jamaica, she's been with me from day one. Another great person that has been with me from day one, and I really want to give a shout out, is my attorney, Andrea Scarlett Loser. I mean, always have a great attorney on board. Any little thing that I'm doing, I would touch base with her and say, Andrea, what do you think about this? How should I go about this? I mean, she is like my rock in my business. You know, and from day one, she left her law firm, I followed her. I find that having great people on board is really important, because you can't be the smartest person in your business and you don't know everything. So you need great people working with you, and people who actually believe in you. Andrea was the first person who told me that, hey, you're going to have a Fortune 500 company. I mean, that was from 2007. Yeah, she believed in me. So she wasn't just taking my money to do my legal work. She actually believed in what I was doing.
Oh, that's some really great advice as people look for team members to support their business. Pick people who believe in your vision.
Yes.
All right. Any final words of wisdom?
Okay, so I'm saying 2021 is here. If you want to start a business, if you want to write a book, if you want to just go out there and be successful, don't let COVID stop you. Just get it done. You know, get up every day and just nurture your vision. I call it hustling. Just hustle every day. You know, the vision is there, but the hustle, you know, it's so, what is it? I think the hustle is sold separately. So you have the dream, but you have to work it. You know, just having a dream alone is not going to make it. You have to actually work, put in some work.
Put in the work. All right, Dr. Ashman, thank you so much for joining us. You dropped a lot of wisdom today.
Thank you for having me, Melissa, and all the best for 2021 and beyond.
Same to you, Dr. Ashman. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today's show. I'll be back here on Wednesday at 9 a.m. and the topic of my presentation is Greater is Coming. So Dr. Ashman actually laid the foundation today in her conversation about resilience. So that's what I'll be teaching on Wednesday. See you at 9 a.m. Remember, be kind and loving to yourself. You deserve it.